What's going on, faithful? Today, we're asking a very important question. Are the San Francisco 49ers done making moves this offseason? Or is there something else big coming? Let's get it. Welcome to the Cayman's Island podcast, where we talk all things San Francisco 49ers. I'm your host, David Cayman. Are the San Francisco 49ers going all in? Or is this about it for the offseason for the Niners? And are they going to turn their attention to the draft? Because when you take a step back and you look at this offseason so far, the 49ers did exactly what I hoped that they would do. They've made smart, calculated decisions across this roster. They didn't throw in some massive contract on one superstar or a couple of superstars. And I really like what they've done so far. But before we get there, before we get into this thing, let's break down everything that they've done so far. All right, let's look at their key additions. Mike Evans, 3-year deal, wide receiver. Christian Kirk, slot weapon addition. Arian Lowe, 2-year depth piece at offensive tackle. You got one of my favorite moves by far, which was Osa Odighizuwa, acquired from the Cowboys via trade. You got Nate Hobbs, some physical DB addition in there. Corliss Waitman, punter. Dre Greenlaw returns to the Niners. I'm super happy about that signing. Dre's one of my favorite Niners, man. Luke Gifford re-signed. Eddie Pinheiro. This is probably, and I know it's tough to get excited about special teams, but man, Eddie Pinheiro, 4-year deal. I really feel like that was the biggest move for the 49ers in the offseason. That man absolutely helped the Niners win games. It seemed like almost week in, week out. You got Brett Toth, center, signed a 1-year deal. Jake Tonjes, 2-year deal. Sam Okwanu coming back on a 1-year deal. Garrett Wallow coming back. John Weeks, that's the long snapper, 1-year deal. And when you look at this list, I know that the Mike Evans signing got a lot of headlines, and that's good and great and all, but this wasn't about any type of groundbreaking, trying to make super headlines moves. This was about building a complete roster. And when you take a look at really what they fixed, you're looking at 2 wide receiver additions. You got Mike Evans, you got Christian Kirk helping the wide receiver room. The interior pass rush had to be addressed, and I love the Osa signing. That's really going to help. It's only going to help the young guys. It's only going to help C.J. West and Alfred Collins having more of that, having Osa there being that more, just getting constant pressure up the middle type of guy. I think he's going to be an absolute monster. You got Greenlaw and Gifford. I think that really does solidify the depth of that linebacking core. You got Lowe and Toth for the offensive line depth. And then you shored up special teams. You improve special teams by signing Eddie Money to that long-term deal. And hopefully you move the needle a little bit with Waitman. I think he might be a mini step up as far as a punter. So I feel like you've solidified and improved probably the most consistent unit in special teams that you had all season long. So that's very good. Very happy about that. But they didn't fix everything. But they did definitely, I would say, cover a lot of ground. But what's still needed? I think that the needs are pretty obvious and in a few areas. I think edge rusher has got to be something that's addressed. Now, there's a lot of talk, a lot going on about a possible Joey Bosa signing. We'll get into that in a second. I think guard is a huge need. That interior O-line beside Trent, that's got to be shored up. If this team is going to make some serious noise. I'm thinking postseason at this point. When you have a team in the 49ers that went 12-5, all things considered last year, I think it's an absolute given that this team has to make the playoffs. And I feel that they have to go further than they did last year. And they've made some great moves. They've done some great things. And a lot of people feel that they're all in. And I'm about to tell you why I disagree with that. Safety is another place that I think that the Niners could use some help. And by no means am I giving up on Malik Mustafa, still what Malik does. And Upton Stout, man, I can only imagine the trajectory he's on. You know, what can't he be come next year? But he's still an undersized guy. And we have Raheem Morris as the new defensive coordinator. And I really am not sure, and I don't think anybody is too sure what exactly this defense is going to look like. And we'll probably know more as we see the offseason program kick in to play. But that's that unknown. I could see the Niners needing to add some help at running back just to help CMC. Hopefully Jordan James is him. Hopefully Jordan James is that guy, but I still think you could probably use some extra help there. More than likely the Niners will do the thing that they always do and get a running back in the draft. We got 3 fourth-round picks. Maybe that's an area there or a pick at that time the Niners will utilize to see if we can get some depth in the draft at the running back position. And then maybe also some more help at corner. So let's start with edge rusher. Again, I know there's a lot of noise about Joey Bosa, and there is some upside. He's familiar. His brother is on the team. We've seen what he can do when healthy. I thought he did all right last year. And of course, he's been there, done that. No offense is going to surprise him. He's got a high football IQ. I think the downside is the reality is that there have been injury issues. You already know what you're coming into when it comes into play with injuries on the San Francisco 49ers. So you're always holding your breath there. And I just don't think Joey is elite anymore. I think he would be somebody that you want to use primarily on third down, really be a specialist, a rotational piece. He's definitely not at this stage with his injury history somebody I would want to overuse. And I get a little concerned with that because it seems like when Kyle falls in love with a guy, he falls in love with a guy. There's a couple of guys, and like a Jadeveon Clowney, a Haason Reddick. Now, with Jadeveon Clowney, he's a strong run defender. He's physical. He's huge. But he's not really a true, I would say, pass rush threat. He'd be a situational piece, not a game changer. With Haason Reddick, there will probably be some scheme fit questions there. He can get a bit streaky sometimes, really hot and cold. And again, that's that whole, is that really moving the needle at end? There's guys out there like Dante Fowler Jr., another guy that's 31 years of age, similar to Haason Reddick being 31. Now, I know what you might be thinking. And it's the same thing I thought going into this offseason. Don't the 49ers want to get younger, right? I think we can go ahead and throw that strategy out the window already. The moves that they made just far, I think, are a bit tricky because based on the age of the players that they're adding, you would think this is some all-in moves, but I don't think that's the case. If you're going to make an all-in move, the Niners have cleared up necessary cap space. It's the worst kept secret on the planet that they're going to do something to get Trent what Trent wants as far as money and probably do some, I guess you could say, salary cap gymnastics to even free up more cap to make a move. If you're going to go all in and you're going to make a move, okay, for me, because you're not drafting a guy better than Maxx Crosby, send the 27th, pick up the phone, call Tom Brady. You can have the 27th. I don't know how the Niners feel about, I just don't think you want to give up 2 first-round picks, especially with what happened with the whole Baltimore Ravens trade debacle. But if you're giving up a pick, you're giving up 27. And if we could be honest, the first round has not been a massive hit or success for this front office since taking over. So give up the 27th pick, throw in a second next year or something like that. Defer that problem to next year. You get a Maxx Crosby. And to me, of course, it causes all kinds of implications on the cap for next year and years to follow. I get all that. But if you're going to make a move that says, hey, we're all in, that's the move. You would have guys, I'm going to be honest, you probably have the best defensive line in football. If Nick Bosa comes back and he's 90% of himself and those guys are healthy, you're talking about probably the best line in football. Then you have a situation where from game to game, you don't know if Matt Stafford is going to make it against that defensive line 2 games in a season. Then you can get back there to a Sam Darnold who's almost like a step up from a game manager. I think that really moves the needle. There's no other teams in the NFC right now that, if you look at it, the rosters on paper, there's no other team that really, in my opinion, challenges the Niners. I do like Chicago. They're up and coming. But I think if we played Chicago right now with what Chicago has on the field, what the Niners have on the field, I feel roster-wise, we'd beat them right now. The real threats are in our own division. What can we do to move the needle to beat a Los Angeles Rams and to beat a Seattle Seahawks? That's that type of all-in move, I think, that can edge that needle towards San Francisco headed into the season this year. If you're going all in, that's one of those type of all-in moves. And there's other trade scenarios I'm sure that's out there that the 49ers can do to really move that needle towards San Francisco. I think they've done some great moves, and they've done a lot to get closer to the Rams and get closer to Seattle. I just don't feel like it's completely level right now. So you take a look at some other positions where I think they can make a move. I think bringing back Brian Robinson Jr. would be a good move. Already there, familiar with the system, physical runner, very dependable, not super explosive, but it gives that extra depth piece in somebody that's familiar. A couple of other options, maybe at guard, maybe a Mekhi Becton. Massive physical upside, but inconsistency, injury history there. It's one of those high-risk, high-reward scenarios. You look at a veteran that's versatile like a Graham Glasgow, but just not super dominant. Again, a move that doesn't really move the needle, okay? If you wanted to maybe go out and get a L'Jarius Sneed, right? Physical, proven, big-time playoff performer, super competitor, but then you're talking about probably a higher price tag. But it'd be a big move. Maybe pull in some depth at safety like a Justin Simmons that would be like your ball hawk, veteran leader back there that could help. Again, you look at age and cost on a move like that, okay? So to answer the question, are the San Francisco 49ers done making moves? Or are they all in? A lot of people are saying they're all in, but I don't see it fully that way. If they were truly in, I think they would make one of those jaw-dropping moves, and there's still time, okay? I just don't see it. I really feel like they're about to turn their attention to the draft. Now, I'll say I wouldn't put it past the 49ers to try to do some things and move up, because that's just what San Francisco loves to do, especially in the first round. I think they're doing something a bit smarter. They are towing the line between competing now and protecting the future. Okay? Now, I know a lot of folks are frustrated, and we've all been there if you're a 49ers fan, of being right there at the precipice of breaking through and winning a Super Bowl, getting heartbroken by the Chiefs in the worst way possible in overtime, being right there to win a championship. But I also don't want to get so crazy where you push in all the chips in the table and you go and you lose in the second round of the playoffs. I think that's a situation where you would hear a lot of noise in the offseason about John Lynch's job and Kyle Shanahan's job. And we're already a team that loves some drama, right? It seems like the 49ers can just always dominate the headlines with some sort of drama or some sort of holdout in the offseason. And that's the last thing that's needed. I do think that if the 49ers were healthy last year, they probably win the Super Bowl, seriously, with the team they had. And thus far, they've only improved this roster, in my opinion. They've done a great job of really staying away from what we all feared, like bringing back a Deebo Samuel, doing things that seem comfortable, doing things that seem familiar, right? Everyone said, go get younger, go get faster, and that's something that needs to happen. However, they go and get a guy like Mike Evans, who I feel is an absolute perfect fit for this San Francisco 49ers offense in the short term, where you have a good contract, you bring in a guy like Mike, who is all performance, no talk. All he does is perform. All he does is keep his head down and play. And I really feel that's going to pay big-time dividends with folks like Jacob Cowing and Jordan Watkins. So I feel that room is only definitely accelerated. They didn't do the things like bringing back a Jawan Jennings. So they've stayed away from the traditional things that I feel like the Niners have done in the past. Hence the whole Joey Bosa thing. Bringing back Joey Bosa would go away from what it looks like the 49ers have done so well consistently in this offseason. And it's not do the easy thing, right? Like hiring Raheem Morris, actually going out and picking somebody different than just bringing back some guy that's already in the building. So I think they've done a good job at sticking toward their offseason strategy. I would go so far as to say it would surprise me if the Niners were to sign Joey Bosa. And I know there's a lot of noise, a lot of rumors out there swirling about that. So what comes next? And this is where I land. And I really believe the 49ers are done in free agency. I really do. I think they're about to shift their focus toward the NFL draft. And I'll have some shows absolutely with what I think the 49ers are going to do, specifically in that first round. I've got a good hunch on what I feel that they're going to do. When you look at everything, this has been a smart, controlled, and disciplined offseason. They've improved, they've stayed flexible, and they've set themselves up for the future. They didn't go all in, but they also didn't just sit still and make no moves. They built a legitimate contender right now. If they don't make one other move, I feel that, especially during the regular season, I know that I will give a slight tilt to the Rams right now just because of what they've done, shoring up their biggest weakness, which was their secondary toward the later half of the season. But it's all about Matt Stafford. If Matt Stafford misses any time or is not healthy or has this decline, the Rams are done. They really are truly done. So you have that factor where the whole infrastructure of their team, in my opinion, starts and ends with Matthew Stafford. Whereas on the 49ers side of the shop, if for whatever reason Brock were to get injured, miss some games, you have a guy in Mac Jones who proved what he can do last season, proved how well and how much chemistry he has with the team. So we already have that one up on the Rams and the Seahawks at the most important position. If Sam Darnold misses any amount of time or he's not healthy, you already see where I'm going with this. So for me, it's really a coin flip right now between Seattle and the 49ers for the division. And then I'm giving the slight tilt to the Rams at present if they have a completely healthy Matt Stafford. But we all know how these divisional games go, similar to the last year when the San Francisco 49ers went to Los Angeles and beat those guys in overtime in their own house with the plethora of injuries and players the 49ers were playing without in that game. Those division games are always tough. That's the show today, guys. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to like and subscribe. Drop a comment. It absolutely helps out the channel. What do you think, guys? Do you think that the 49ers should make some more moves? Do you think they should go ahead and pick up the phone and call Tom Brady and offer a couple of first-round picks and get that done and go ahead right now and move that needle? As always, guys, take care. Be blessed and go Niners.